The dark truth on Cheech and Chong is finally revealed, and it isn't good. They were the countercultural kings of comedy who turned marijuana jokes into millions, creating an empire of hit albums and blockbuster films that defined stoner humor for generations. Cheech Marin and Tommy Chong, the laid-back Latino car mechanic and the spaced-out hippie, became an iconic duo whose very names became synonymous with cannabis culture long before legalization was even imaginable. Their seemingly effortless chemistry and authentic friendship appeared to be the foundation of their success. Two genuine counterculture figures who simply brought their real-life dynamic to the stage and screen. But behind the haze of smoke and laughter lurked a much darker reality that fans never glimpsed, a story of bitter resentment, creative control battles, devastating betrayal, government persecution, and a partnership that ultimately disintegrated into decades of silence and animosity. They created the illusion of being best buds having fun getting high together, revealed a former production assistant who worked on several of their films, but the truth was they could barely stand to be in the same room by the end. The cameras would roll, they'd do their bits, and then they'd retreat to separate corners of the set, one of Hollywood's most convincing acting jobs. What makes their story particularly fascinating isn't just the shocking contrast between their public image and private reality, but how their partnership mirrored the very counterculture movement they represented, beginning with idealistic harmony in the free-spirited 1970s before fracturing under the weight of ego, money, and changing times in the materialistic 1980s. They smoked together on screen but barely spoke off, confirmed a longtime friend of both men, and what started as genuine friendship eventually curdled into something deeply uncomfortable for everyone around them. Today, 6 dark truths about Cheech and Chong shatter the carefree, happy-go-lucky image they carefully maintained for decades, from devastating personal conflicts that tore them apart to financial disputes that turned friends into bitter rivals to shocking government targeting that sent one of comedy's biggest stars to federal prison. But to understand how it all fell apart, it's necessary to understand how the magic began before it all went up in smoke. Vancouver, British Columbia, 1968. A small comedy club where an unlikely partnership was born when Mexican-American Cheech Marin, who had fled to Canada to avoid the Vietnam draft, met Canadian musician Tommy Chong. When they first got together, Chong later recalled, "It was electric, as if they finished each other's sentences with an immediate understanding that required no discussion." Cheech would take a bit exactly where it needed to go, and this genuine chemistry and friendship formed the foundation of their early success. Their first comedy album in 1971 was nominated for a Grammy, and their 1978 movie debut Up in Smoke cost less than $2 million to make while grossing over $100 million, an astronomical return that made them one of Hollywood's most profitable acts. As their fame grew, something began to change between the two men who had once been inseparable creative partners. They started out as a tight duo in the early 1970s, explained a sound engineer who worked on several of their albums, constantly riffing and making each other laugh. By the time they recorded Get Out of My Room in 1985, they wouldn't even record their parts on the same day. The deterioration was gradual, a slow poisoning of their partnership that those close to them watched with increasing concern. By later films, crew members reported that the tension had become unmistakable, with days of silence on set as they performed their scenes flawlessly and then retreated to trailers on opposite ends of the lot with no interaction at all. According to those who knew them best, the shift came from a complex collision of creative differences, personality conflicts, and the pressure of maintaining a unified public image that no longer reflected reality. Cheech felt Chong was controlling, paranoid, and perpetually high, while Chong believed Cheech had sold out their countercultural roots in pursuit of mainstream success. Their personal habits deepened the divide. While both men emerged from the drug culture that informed their comedy, Chong remained deeply immersed in cannabis and psychedelics, while Cheech began moderating his lifestyle as success grew, becoming more business-minded and focused on the future. By the mid-1980s, they were living in completely different worlds, creating an incompatibility that couldn't be resolved. Maintaining the public facade of carefree friendship became an exhausting act, with every interview and appearance requiring them to pretend everything was fine, while resentment grew behind closed doors. In one of their last interviews together, A producer recalled Cheech speaking about brotherhood, while Chong's face froze for a split second, a moment when the mask slipped and decades of hurt became visible. While creative differences laid the groundwork for their collapse, money ultimately shattered their relationship beyond repair. As their fame exploded in the late 1970s and early 1980s, albums went gold, movies broke box office records, and merchandise flew off shelves, transforming them into a multi-million-dollar brand. But their early handshake agreements became a problem once serious money was involved. Chong often took on directing and producing responsibilities, leading him to believe he deserved a larger share of profits and control, while Cheech felt their success was built equally on both contributions. Financial discussions became proxy battles for deeper issues of respect and power, with constant scorekeeping over billing, screen time, and credit poisoning their working relationship. When their career began to decline in the mid-1980s, underperforming albums and films intensified the strain, turning each man into an obstacle rather than a partner and making simple business decisions feel like life or death battles. By 1985, their financial relationship had deteriorated so badly that management teams struggled to get them in the same room. This breaking point coincided with Cheech's desire to escape the stoner persona that had made him famous. In his late 30s, he felt trapped by the Pedro character and wanted to prove his range as an actor and filmmaker. Going solo, he took roles in projects like Born in East LA and later mainstream television, demonstrating ambitions beyond drug jokes. Hollywood responded positively, seeing potential in Cheech as a versatile performer, while Chong struggled to establish an independent identity with the same success. Studios stopped offering duo projects, and the industry's reaction created a painful disparity that Chong experienced as abandonment, believing Cheech had left once the partnership no longer served him. This sense of betrayal was compounded by Hollywood's tendency to move on quickly. As the characters and comedy style they pioneered began to feel dated, Cheech's solo success seemed to validate his decision while implying Chong had been the less essential partner. Their separation turned every success or failure into a zero-sum game, deepening personal wounds. While this professional split caused lasting damage, Chong's next chapter brought an even harsher reckoning with authority.